tell us about the genesis of the Bay Area Women's Theater Festival?
Hi, I am Michaela Goldtober, go by Mickey. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm coming to you from Ohlone Land in Berkeley, California. I have been devoted my life, my work to telling women's stories for as long as I can remember. And when I was in New York, I had a theater company, Flying Fig Theater, and our mission was to tell women's stories on stage through commissioning new works and rediscovering plays from the past. And we did many productions doing that, and it was wonderful. And I left New York, came back to the Bay Area, still very much about how do I tell women's stories. And I started finally writing the play I've been thinking about for a very long time. And then that play, The Lady Scribblers, it's about women playwrights who join forces with rebel actors to take on the tyrant of London theater. And that play took me to Raleigh, North Carolina for the Women's Theater Festival there. And they did a stage reading of it. And I went out because I have some friends there and just had an amazing time and thought, we have to do this in the Bay Area. They were having new plays by women every month, and this 24 hours of plays by women. It was incredible. And literally on the plane ride home, I posted on the Yeah, I Said Feminist Facebook group, which is something that Fontana Butterfield Guzman started, and a bunch of us have been really active in for a long time. I said, hey y'all, I'm gonna start a women's theater festival in the Bay Area. Who wants to join me? And within 20 minutes, we had a whole group of women to get together to do it. And Aaron Merritt said, we can come over to my house. And we had a meeting and we had a plan. And that was in the summer of 2018. And we met and we started meeting monthly. And the premise that I put out was, let's ask all the companies that are already producing, is there a play by a woman or non-binary artist that you're considering producing? If not, can we help you find one? If so, would you consider committing to a woman or non-binary director and 50% women non-binary cast and design team? And then if you can do it in this window of time, then you can be part of the Bay Area Women's Theater Festival and we will promote you. And that was our invitation. And 40 theater companies said yes in various ways. And that's what we were going to do in 2020. Full productions, staged readings, a whole extravaganza of events from March 1st to May 30th.
My name is Erin Merritt, and I grew up in the Bay Area and had to spend a few years away, but my heart has always been here, and I'm very glad to be back. And I am a director and producer. Came up through acting and moved on up to trying to share a vision. Right. And so with that group of us who came together and said, yeah, we want to make this happen. We sort of split up into groups who were some people were just doing that promotion of the other productions that were happening. And then a few of us identified projects that we wanted to initiate ourselves as part of this festival. And Mickey decided she wanted to do a classical reading festival, classical women writing, shortly after Shakespeare or in response to Shakespeare, because we felt like Shakespeare companies are still the most inequitably cast shows because of the way the shows are written, right? And so what are the plays, and then the audiences for Shakespeare are also so specific, and a lot of them really aren't theater audiences so much as they are specifically Shakespeare or classical theater audiences. And so how do we give them something that's a kind of low-hanging fruit for them, something that won't be like shock them, but they'll go, oh, this is Shakespeare adjacent, so let's go see that. And Katherine, who we'll talk in a moment, started a BIWOC reading festival, and I was going to do something that we cannot do right now, hoping we'll be able to in the future, creating a 24-hour event where we had over 75 acts, over 200 artists in all three of the performance spaces in Brava, plus the hallways and even the bathrooms. We had people who were going to perform in the bathrooms, so that people could come and spend a whole 24 hours straight with us. But of course, the whole point of that one is to jam as many people into the room as possible. And so we're not doing that one right now. And I came to this similarly to Mickey in that I had a long history of asking to play male roles because they spoke more to what I wanted to portray, not because I wanted to be a man, but because the roles that were being programmed for women just weren't who I was at all. And that led to me starting an all-female Shakespeare company, which I ran for about a dozen years, 13 seasons. And then once I left there, I really started working on new work, and I'm very, very interested in the way that classical work and new work speak to each other. I've really seen some big changes in the way things are programmed, seasons are programmed, and the way women are hired, but we still got a ways to go, and so I'm still on that bandwagon, I guess.
Katherine Sebron. I'm curating the BIWOC Plus Play Reading Festival for the Bay Area Women's Theater Festival. I did theater for years. I was Actors Equity. I was in Equity for about 10 years. I was a stage manager and director. I was a founding member of the African American Shakespeare Company. I founded my own burlesque company and did that for several years. I was invited to the meeting at Aaron's house. So I'm listening to all these wonderful plans for Bay Area Women's Theater Festival, and wanted to make sure that women of color's voices got heard, because oftentimes we don't get heard. So I'm like, well, if you're doing this play reading festival, why don't we do something specifically for women of color to amplify their voices, get women of color playwrights and directors, because I know as a women of color director, sometimes it's harder for us to get work, or we get pigeonholed. And I thought, so you know, I remember once, quick story. I remember once where I was contacted by a theater festival, like, hey, give us a proposal. What do you want to do? Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, you know what, you could do Colored Museum. This is how far back we're going. You could do that. Or you could do Susie Laurie Parks, which, you know, good stuff. These are things, but I'm like, I'm not limited to that. Anyway, so what I'm hoping for is producers and other people will come to these play reading series to realize that there are new works and there are other stories to be told, so that we can be more firmly within the theater community. That's what I'm up to.
Wonderful. And I know, Mickey, you mentioned that there was like a full, robust festival planned in 2020 that had sort of just gotten launched and underway, and then the pandemic and theater shut down. And I know you all were able to still continue some programming virtually, but this is like a return. So can you tell us a little bit about what people can expect from the festival this year, and then what your plans might be for 23?
Well, we were going to be doing these 2 reading series on Monday nights during the festival. And so coming back now, I literally I turned 50 and my sister asked me, what do you want for your 50th birthday? And I said, I want the Bay Area Women's Theater Festival.
And part of the thought is that we didn't get to have the proper presence and introduce ourselves in 2020 the way that we wanted to. And so this gives us a mini festival, gives us a chance to say, hey, this is the kind of thing we're doing, and look forward to a bigger thing next year. And we also knew that there might still be more closures, and there still might, right? So this was a manageable thing that we could always move to solely online if we needed to.
At Aurora, we are going to be hosting 4 of these readings, 3 from the Bywalk reading series and 1 from the classical women's reading series, which we're really excited about at Aurora. Those will be in person. So, so the classical reading series is operating under a hybrid model where there will be some streaming only and then some in person. And the Bywalk reading series is doing a really cool thing where it's alternating. So there are readings happening in San Francisco, and then a reading of the same play will happen in the East Bay. And that's really cool. And Aurora is really honored to have been invited to participate and thrilled. On Monday night at 7 p.m., March 21st, at Aurora, we will host the Bay Area Women's Theater Festival Bywalk reading series, reading of Ida's Nevermind. We look forward to having you join us over the series of readings. We'll be hosting 3 of the Bywalk readings and 1 of the classical reading series between now and May 30th.
It was well received at Brava, so we're really looking forward to having it at the Aurora. It's just a lovely, gosh, she's a woman that's been married, so I hazard to call it a coming of age story, but I think it's a coming into her culture story. And as you know, like I felt connected to the story because, you know, as people of color, sometimes assimilation becomes the thing to survive and get through and be comfortable and be a part of. And I think she kind of finds herself and her culture within her journey. I love it.
Gut-bustingly funny. So if you're ready for a real laugh,
and it's also just very sweet. It's a lovely, lovely piece. And it's she said she sort of wrote it because she wants people to just be able to put their troubles aside and kind of go on this little retreat.